So recently I was talking to one of my friends from back home, and he said to me, Anthony, you don't really play nice with people anymore. And I thought, okay, that's an interesting thing to say. But I explained to him that I was trying to be more pleasant. And what he said didn't upset me. I think it made me start to question a lot of things. Like, why did he think this? What behaviors were I displaying that made him feel like I wasn't being nice? What is the difference between someone who is pleasant and someone who's nice? I think there's a huge difference between someone who's pleasant and someone who's nice. Pleasant people, they're very fun and exciting to be around, but they're also very in touch with themselves, whether it could be emotional, physical, spiritual. These are the people who know what they want in life. They have a sense of who they are, where they're going, what kind of people they want to surround themselves with. They're also not afraid to set boundaries, especially with people who don't make them feel good or people who take away from their life instead of adding to it. I just think that they're very secure people who surround themselves with other like-minded individuals who are also very focused on change and growth and all the good things in life. Then there's nice people, which I think are on the other side of the coin. Nice people are also fun and exciting. They can be. None of these people are mean. But nice people are nice to everybody but themselves. These types of people don't have any boundaries. These are the people that let anybody and everybody into their circle. And it's not because they enjoy everyone's company, but because they put other people's needs first before theirs, to a fault. And a lot of people consider this behavior to be positive, which it can be. Let me be clear, it can be. But I think over time, when it happens continuously and too much, like anything in life, it can become very detrimental. And I think this is when people start to feel like they get taken advantage of, they get walked all over. This is what I call the doormat treatment, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now, as I continue to journey through my 20s, there's two big things that I've learned very fast so far. Number one, who my true friends are. And number two, what is most important to me in life, especially my time. And you're probably wondering why I'm only realizing this so recently. But I'll tell you something. I used to be a nice guy. It's true. I was that guy. I was the guy who would do anything for anybody and everyone, even people that I didn't really like too much. And I was always the nice guy in the friend group, in my family, in relationships. I just didn't have any boundaries, essentially. I would just let people kind of walk all over me because I thought, oh, well, I'm being righteous by putting other people's needs first. And over time, I started to realize, what was happening. And you were also probably wondering whether this benefited me emotionally. Did I gain any clarity on this of who I was or, what was going on? And if you're thinking no, you're thinking correct because it didn't help. It actually, over time, it started to make me feel worse. I started to feel like I was becoming a shell of who people thought I was. And it's not like I just woke up one day and realized all of this. This was a slow, gradual realization that happened from personal experience. I started to realize there were a lot of people in my life who weren't making me feel very good, weren't making me feel welcomed, taking away from certain things in my life instead of adding to it. And these were people that were just getting very difficult to be around. And I also learned it from books, because there's nothing you can't learn from reading a good book. When I was a freshman in college, I read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. Great book, highly recommend it. And what's crazy to me about that book is that this is the ancient Roman emperor who lived over 2,000 years ago during one of the most corrupt and difficult times in Roman history. And here he is in his room writing to himself before bed, saying to be tolerant, to be kind and virtuous to people, to treat your time preciously, because one day none of us are going to be here. And that's the truth. And it's not meant to scare you, and it's not meant to be negative. It's just the truth. And, being careful of who we're spending our time with. And, I read that and I couldn't believe it. I can't believe that a Roman emperor was talking about things that are still relevant today. And honestly, I think I read that book at the perfect time, because this was around the same time when I started having these realizations of about, just people in my life. And, and the thing is, I don't have it all figured out yet. And I probably am never going to have it figured out. But that's okay with me. I'm okay with that. That's what keeps me engaged and what makes me want to keep learning more and more, because it's very important. And from that moment on, I started working towards being a pleasant person. Now, what do you do if you feel like you fall into the nice person category? Well, don't worry. This is a very good problem to have. And this is a good realization. And what you're doing, what you're realizing is very difficult. And you need to give yourself some grace during this time. Because if anything, if you do feel like you're a nice person, I think it just shows how much you care about others and the world around you. And it's great. Pleasant people also care about these things too. Let me be clear. The goal here is not to become less nice, but to build up more self-respect. Because nobody likes someone that's mean and rude and inconsiderate. But I'm going to take a wild guess here and assume that you don't want to be treated like a doormat either. So what can you do? I think it starts with setting some small boundaries. It starts with the little stuff, right? If you're the type of person that says yes to going out every weekend with your friends, even the times when you don't want to, or you don't really feel like it, or you just kind of want to stay inside, there's nothing wrong with that. But, next time your friends ask you, say, hey, want to come out with us this weekend? Just say no. If you don't feel like it. If you do feel like going out, then go out. But if you don't feel like it, just say no. Just say, no, I can't commit to that. And don't over-explain it either. Now, hopefully, your friends will understand that. They might have a hard time at first because, oh, wow, you usually never say no. So this might be a surprise to them. But they should understand. And it's very important to do this because you want to set boundaries early on. Otherwise, you'll start to grow resentful of your friends and the people around you. And that's not what should be happening. Again, it's about self-respect and, having a sense of control over your life. Because at the end of the day, you only have to look out for one person, and that's you. I think the biggest tip I have for people that are struggling with this is to stop trying to be liked by everybody, because you don't even like everyone yourself. You don't. You really don't. So why? Why do you feel like you have to be liked by everybody? Now, I think those are questions for you to answer. I personally cannot speak on that for you. But through this time, if you are working towards this, you need to give yourself a pat on the back, because what you're doing is very difficult. Setting boundaries is hard. It's hard, and a lot of people don't do it. But there's nothing mean or rude about setting boundaries. It's about being honest. And by being honest, you're doing yourself a huge favor, and you're doing your friends and the people that surround you a huge favor too. So, the question, back to the original question, is, are you pleasant or are you nice? And I think only you are able to answer that.